This is the Ordinary Business Podcast for business owners who want honest conversations, a lean business, and an extraordinary life on their own terms. Hey friends, just a heads up, you might have seen on social me talking about having some health issues, and one of the things I needed to do was take some things off my plate for a little bit while I figure things out. I didn't want this podcast to end though. So all the guests that I was planning to interview are actually going to record solo and answer the questions that I was actually going to ask them just without me interrupting them. So here you go.
What is up, my friends? This is Adam Schaeuble, and I'm taking over the Ordinary Business Podcast today. I am a full-time podcaster and the host of Podcasting Business School. And today I'm going to talk about how I don't use any AI in my business, like zero. Like I don't have ChatGPT downloaded. I don't have Claude downloaded. And I'm really excited to touch on this topic because not only do I not use AI, I also only work 3 days a week. I know Jess had a bunch of interest in these topics, and she was like, how in the world are you pulling this off? So I'm going to dive into this. Jess sent me some questions. And first off, just shout out to Jess. I appreciate her letting me jump into the driver's seat here. I applaud her decision to throttle back, to kind of take care of herself. As an entrepreneur that has worked myself into the hospital 3 different times early on in my career, I just want to applaud her for taking time to just, heal up and take the rest that is needed as an entrepreneur and as a business leader. So shout out to my pod pal, Jess. So let's dive in to some of the topics that Jess wanted me to cover today. I'm a full-time content creator. I use zero AI. And in this day and age, that's pretty much crazy. Like people literally don't believe me when I say that. I've even had people call me out. I've had to block people on the internet because they accuse me like, this is AI. I'm like, I don't. Like, I wouldn't know where to start when it comes to ChatGPT and things like that. So what's the real reason that I haven't started using it yet? And to me, it's really simple. My creativity is my superpower. As a content creator, I build my audience and I build my business based off of my creativity. So for me, I want to work that creativity muscle as absolutely hard as possible. I want to flex that muscle and work that muscle as absolutely hard as I can each and every single day through writing, through audio content. I don't do any video content, but like just making that work without relying on AI to do that for me. Now I realize you can use AI for other tasks in your business, like creating websites and sales pages and things like that. But for me, I see so many content creators that are just delegating their content creation process to AI. And I'm sure you guys see this as much as I do. Like people are sounding very similar. A lot of people that do, like I'm big on the Threads platform. A lot of people's content looks the same now. And it's kind of watered down and it's AI-y kind of mush that doesn't really deliver anything for the audience. So in a world now, first, all the AI adopted people that were creating content with AI, they stood out because it was new and it was innovative and there was a lot going out there. But now so many people have adopted that. They all sound the same. And I'm the one that's sounding different because I'm having these human conversations, this human content, this human response. And just as an example of like, a lot of you are probably like, this doesn't really deplete your creativity. Let's just look at Abraham Lincoln. Let's go way back. So I'm currently reading a book about Abraham Lincoln called Team of Rivals. And it's a giant book, y'all. It's like 800 pages. It's a little bit out of my league, just to be honest. But I'm hammering through it. I'm halfway through it. And the thing that I've noticed is that back in the age of Abraham Lincoln, obviously no internet, no video, no phone. Everything was written language. If you wanted to communicate to somebody that wasn't in the room with you, you had to write, and you had to write well. And just looking at some of the letters that Abraham freaking Lincoln was writing to like his wife when he was courting her, or to generals when he was, giving them commands, the quality of writing and the verbiage is off the charts. He's like a pro compared to what we do today. And I just looked at that. I was like, oh my God, like they had to do that. That was a necessary skill. And how much would Abraham Lincoln's writing show up on Threads today? It would completely stand out because of just the quality of that. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. As we have evolved and as technology has evolved, we've become more reliant on that. And for me, I just realized that my creativity is what really makes me stand apart. So I purposely don't use AI for any creative projects whatsoever. I want to make that muscle work as hard as possible. So how am I only working 3 days a week? If everybody that's using AI is working like 12 days a week, and supposedly AI is making their life, simpler and easier because they're delegating so much to AI, how is it that I'm not using AI and I'm working 3 days per week? Well, number one, I think becoming a content entrepreneur was a huge switch that I flipped. In a previous life, I owned a gym. This is when I worked myself into the hospital 3 different times, as I mentioned earlier. I had 500 plus clients, 30 plus employees, and it was really hard. I was working 1,000,000 hours a week, not taking days off. So flipping the switch in 2015, I launched my first podcast. I was a full-time podcaster by 2019. I had replaced my income, sold my gym, all that stuff. But being able to flip the switch to be able to work from home, set my own schedule. Like a lot of entrepreneurs, we chase the dollars, but what we don't realize is that our schedule is of equal, if not more importance than as far as our like compensation plan goes compared to the income that we pay ourselves. So our ability to set our schedule and go, I will only work this amount of time. One of my favorite things to teach my students, my clients, my listeners is to not just set income goals, but income plus lifestyle or time-based goals.
This episode is sponsored by Amy of Hello & Co Creative, the messaging mentor for business owners who are good at what they do, but not at talking about it. Use code Ordinary Business to take $100 off her website copy templates or her Cook Your Copy group program that will help you write a website that converts in just 6 weeks.
I actually only work 2.5 days a week. So just to be totally clear. So how am I doing this? One is I am obsessed with simplification. One of my business mentors is a guy named Dan Sullivan. And the first thing he told me was, Adam, you have to simplify so that you can multiply. And I became obsessed with simplification. I started diving into like the minimalism movement. Like I only own like 80 items of clothing. Socks count as 2. Just simplifying, cleaning out the garage, and, doing what you got to do in your life, but also in your business. So I'm obsessed with only using what is necessary. My content flow is 1 audio only. I don't do video because I don't need it. 1 audio only podcast episode per week. 1 newsletter every single week. And then I'm only on 1 social media platform, Threads. I am not obsessed with being everywhere. I feel like a lot of the content creators and content entrepreneurs that are trying to be everywhere actually aren't heard anywhere. They aren't getting traction anywhere because they're going wide instead of deep. So I only focus on 1 social media platform. I have what I call a minimum effective dose business. I only do the things in a minimum effective way so that my business can grow and thrive and I can, actually enjoy the business that I'm creating for myself. You hear the saying like, oh, I used to have a 9 to 5 as an employee, and now I've got a 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. as an entrepreneur. Like, why do we do that to ourselves when we don't have to? So I set parameters of when I work, when I do not work. My most important KPI, key performance indicator, is how many days I do not work every year. How many days I don't work every year. I track that obsessively. I know if I have 180 to 200 days that I don't work every year, I'll probably have my best income year so far. And that has always been true. So I'm fresher, I'm more creative, and I'm able to get the important things done because I've only got 2.5 days to do it. I have no time for fluff. I have no time for taking coffee chat meetings of, hey, let's just chat and talk about it. No, I don't have time for it. Why? Because my family time is more important. I got 2.5 days to work, serve my clients, create my content, build my audience, do discovery calls and things like everybody else, but I have zero time for fluff. So by minimizing my schedule, I only do things that are important because I have zero time to do anything else. So that's how I keep up. I focus on less but better. So I'm not trying to monetize with a million different offers. I've got 2, basically. I'm not going, oh, let's create another course. Let's create another thing and try to sell it. No, I'm going to focus on what's already working and try to improve that instead. So that's my general philosophy with my business on how that 3-day work week basically puts like a guides up so that I can only do the things that are important. All right. Now, another thing that Jess was really curious about with this whole minimalism, this online business minimalist movement is I mentioned to her that I got rid of all my lead magnets and email funnels. And she wanted to know why the heck I did that. Because that's like, you do online business, it's like lead magnets, email funnels. That's what you do. So when I did this, just as a preview, I got rid of my lead magnets, all of them except for one. I got rid of every single email funnel, any multi-email funnel or email sequence. I deleted all of it. And I added another 2,000 subscribers to my email list after I did this. So what I did was I focused on my newsletter. My newsletter became my lead magnet. And again, I'm obsessed with simplification, less but better. So I was like, as an email consumer, I was like, you know what? I get a lot of emails and half of them I don't read or I skim through or I send to spam or I unsubscribe. So why in the world would I want to send one of my high value podcast listeners into this funnel where they're going to get 19 emails from me and I'm going to try to sell something to them every 5th email? So I scrapped the funnels. I scrapped all the lead magnets. Now, the lead magnet decision, I had hired a newsletter coach and they said, Adam, when I used to have a scorecard as a lead magnet, and they go, Adam, what do people want when they opt into your scorecard? I'm like, well, they want the scorecard. They're like, exactly. They're not saying, hey, I want a bunch of emails. They want the scorecard. So there's a high bounce rate or a high unopened rate when we have a lead magnet. I mean, go look at your list right now and look at people that opt in through a lead magnet. I bet they aren't opening as many emails as somebody that opts in to a newsletter. Because when they opt into the lead magnet, they want the PDF, they want the mini course, they want the workshop, they want the checklist, the scorecard. They're not saying, hey, I want a bunch of emails. So when I switch to, I have an opt-in page, you're not getting anything other than, hey, you are subscribing to my newsletter, and guess what you're going to get every single week? Podcasting tips for launch, growth, and monetization. I'm going to write it in real time. It's going to be full of pure gold from somebody that does this full time, that's helped a whole lot of people, that's earned significant income, and has over 1 million downloads. I'm going to send you a note and some tips every single week. When people opt into that, that's what they want. They're saying, hey, I want your emails. Please send me your emails and I'm going to open them. And when I did this, I added 2,000 subscribers. So I basically doubled my list from 2,000 to 4,000 email subscribers for that newsletter. And my open rate skyrocketed it's over 68% on a 4,000 person plus list. So I was able to simplify. I got rid of all the email funnels. I don't have any email funnel. I don't even have an email welcome sequence. When you opt in, you're going to get one email that says, hey, you opted in. Here's what you can expect. Every Thursday, blah, blah, blah. We connect a little bit. And then you just started getting newsletters. That's it. That's the funnel, y'all. And so I was able to get rid of time spent building email funnels, which I was terrible at anyway, or you have to hire somebody else. You can get rid of that. And I don't build any more lead magnets. All right. So that took 2 major time sucks off of my calendar. And added time back into curating a great newsletter. All right. And I really love it. I sit down, I write it in real time on Thursday morning, I timestamp it, and it gets a really great response. You have to realize that you are in charge. You're in charge of your systems, you're in charge of your processes, but most importantly, you're in charge of your schedule. And I think a lot of us need to guard that schedule better. And also, it's okay to have different goals. Let's use a story. I wasn't planning on saying this, but I'm going to say it. Several years back, this is after I went full-time. It was probably like 2019-ish. I spoke at an event, and there was a mastermind after the event. And there was probably 40 people in this mastermind session. Everybody sitting around in the big U, and there was the leader. And one of the exercises was like, we're going to proclaim how much money we're going to make this year. And I was actually on the end of the U. So I was going to go last. And it was hilarious because the first person went, I'm going to make 300K this year. And then the next person went, I'm going to make 600K. The next person, 800. And it's just like escalating, like I can top that, and like ego driven. And it was just weird and awkward. They were standing up and proclaiming it. I'm last. I stand up and I go, I want to generate $60,000 in recurring yearly income this year. But I want to work 4 days or less per week. I want to take my kids to school. I want to pick them up. I want to work out every single day. I want to connect with my wife every single day and enjoy my schedule. Like standing ovation. And then we went to break. Everybody was like, you had the best goals. Of this giant contest of ego-driven numbers, the guy that said he wanted to pull in 60K of yearly recurring revenue on a 4-day or less work week won. I think some of you need to wake up to that a little bit and go, have I chosen the goals that I would really want to go after? Have I chosen the lifestyle that I really want to reward myself and compensate myself with as an entrepreneur? And if not, guess who can make that decision today to change that? It's you. Simply you. So think about that. When it comes to your lifestyle, when it comes to your relationships, when it comes to your health, when it comes to your business and your enjoyment of that business, what could we simplify so that we can multiply? I appreciate you for listening. If you enjoyed this, would love to have you check out my show. It's called Podcasting Business School. You're listening to a podcast right now. Just hop on over there. I would recommend starting with episode number 608 of Podcasting Business School. That's where I talk about how podcast SEO is different than SEO anywhere else and how I use that to cross 1 million downloads. So signing off, I'm going to sign off just like I sign off my show. Wishing you health, happiness, and many downloads. We'll see you next time.